Okay. Okay. So my presentation has to do with why writers are important to society. This presentation is not exactly what my research about. My research was more gun towards more like statistically proving why students don't really appeal to writing and to reading, but this more has to do with the effect of that. So why is it important that there is a lack of interest, if you will, and what effects that's having on literacy rates and just general success in the United States and around the world in students. Okay, so this appeals to my actual research, and most of that is on my website, obviously. But this is the essential question: how do writers integrate into societies of the past and future, and how can they defend their roles against an apathetic world? So, like I said, the research more has to do with why aren't students interested and what can we do to get them back interested. And for the purpose of this, I had to do a survey as well. I'm not doing one in this class, but I did do a survey in 2 AP classes and 2 on-level classes, both AP Language, Multicultural Literature, and I think 9th grade Lit. So for the purpose of this, writers can be anything from novelists, poets, journalists, biographers, pretty much anything that has to do with writing. It doesn't necessarily have to be fiction, doesn't necessarily have to be like writing textbooks, it's pretty much anything. So the survey I came out with, I didn't put the actual numbers on here because there's lots of questions, but I asked 8 questions. It was a completely anonymous survey, and I have pictures of the survey that'll come up, but the results pretty much came out where I was a little surprised. I mostly thought students would just say, writers aren't important and just like whatever, but it seems people at least recognize that they were, if not still important today, they used to be really important and they used to be really influential to society. But most people said, there was an option that said, that you'll see on here, that said, writers used to be important, but they aren't as influential today as any other career path, such as like scientists and stuff. And then there was another one that people chose where I asked if English should remain a part of the Common Core curriculum, and they said only to keep literacy rates high in the US. A lot of people said that question. Which is actually laughable because the United States doesn't have the highest literacy rate in the world. This is just the survey I gave. These are the different questions. Since you guys aren't taking it, I'm not going to go through it. And this was just the bottom one, since it wasn't multiple choice. It was just, that was mostly for me just to get more insight. It wasn't actually like a survey question, there's no way to measure it. But it was just, in your words, if you think writers could do something better to be more beneficial to society, what would it be? Most people wrote actually kind of confusing answers, but for the ones that I could understand, they were saying they could write about more practical things, which I guess makes sense. So these are statistics that I didn't find from my survey, but they're online, and most of them are from the NCES, I think is the National, as an organization of education statistics. And it says nationally from 1992 to 2005, the average reading scores of 12th graders, which is what I am, have steadily declined. Obviously it's 2015, but these are some of the most updated ones I can find. Employers rank reading, English language, and writing skills as very important skills. They also, I'm not sure if it's on here, but there's also another statistics that says that's the #1 complaint that employers have, is that people don't take the time to actually read what they're doing. They don't understand what instructions are, like if they post them somewhere or rules or anything. So reading comprehension is very important, but a lot of people aren't following it. And then more than 75% of students at 2-year colleges, so like getting an associate degree, and more than 50% of students at 4-year colleges, which is what most people do, don't score the proficient level of literacy. I'm not sure what the exact proficient level of literacy is, but so that could be something to do. What? Yeah, I know, but I didn't know. Okay, but yes, so for an example, it would be that it means that they lack the skills to perform complex learning tasks, such as comparing credit card offers with different interest rates. There was another example that went with the same statistic that said they don't have enough intuitiveness to guess how far, when your like gas light's on empty, how much farther you could drive your car before running out of gas, because that's been happening a lot more. that statistic went up as well when like you have to go buy the giant things to fill up your car on the side of the road. Percentage of 17-year-olds who read nothing at all for pleasure has doubled over a 20-year period. This is one of the statistics that drove me to do this project, is because I've noticed as I've gotten older, way less people seem to read and way less people seem interested in anything that has to do with literature, especially on their own time, which I think is a problem, because I think if you just rely on school to give you reading material, that's what makes it less interesting. It's because most of the time you just read really old novels that people can't relate to anymore. Okay, more than 20% of adults, probably meaning 21 and over in this case, read at or below a 5th grade level, far below the level needed to earn a living wage. That was just scary to me to think about. But it is estimated that the cost of illiteracy to business and taxpayers is $20 billion per year. And among 4th graders, this was more of like a racial statistic. 53% of African American students, 52% of Hispanic students, and 48% of American Indian students scored below the basic level on the NAEP reading test. I'm not sure what the NAEP reading test is. I think it's the part of the new curriculum they're having, but apparently people aren't doing very well on it. So, according to the same organization, some steps that we can take to improve falling literacy rates has to do with to fully address the graduation requirement for reading at local high schools and colleges, meaning actually implementing a system that would guarantee that students are reading, which sounds extremely difficult because I think they're trying to do that now, but try and make that more stringent. Individual faculty should evaluate the level of reading required in their courses. Obviously that puts more pressure on teacher, adds to a list of more things that teachers have to do, so that's also really difficult, but it could be beneficial. Teachers should be allowed to choose works that can be classified as interesting without necessarily being classic. This has to do with what I was saying, where people depend on getting reading material in class, but a lot of the time we're reading books that are considered classics for a reason. Well, obviously AP students have to. Whoa. No. Can't help me. There we go. Okay, I got it. So when you have to read classics, obviously you're supposed to read well-known works of literature for the purposes of AP exams. But aside from that, I think reading classics like To Kill a Mockingbird and Lord of the Flies, while they're beneficial and they definitely help in teaching the idea of like themes and metaphors and allusions, it's also difficult to let students find something to relate to in those things. Because I mean, it's like a book about a bunch of kids being naked on an island going crazy, which maybe some people can relate to, but I don't know. And so, the 4th point, reading and writing should be more discussion-based and not taught out of thick, boring textbooks. So, in my AP language class that I took last year, it was definitely a discussion-based class, and I think that's what made me like, it's fine. That's what made me enjoy reading analysis more, because I also used to really not like that, and actually opened up a door to writing nonfiction for me, because I hate writing nonfiction. But it's because it was discussion-based and because we had the opportunity to open our minds through just discussion instead of just answering questions that are supposedly supposed to make us think more. We discussed it instead, and I guarantee that's a million times more effective. And then writing assignments should be open to more creativity, which will cut off fun. I don't know why that's cut off, but it keeps students interested, basically, instead of just writing the same thing over and over. Every once in a while, it would be a good idea to just, just kind of freeball it. Just let someone do what they want to do. I'm glad you liked that one. But for example, last year in my AP language class, Miss Hanson, one day we walked into class and she had essays on the desk. And I think the man who wrote it, his name was Hugh Wagner or Hugh Lander or something along those lines. And it was basically a college admissions essay that he had submitted to several Ivy Leagues that just listed off some of the most ridiculous things ever. I think one of them was like, I am like a passionate trombone player and I like woo 10 women per hour or something like that. And he was like, children trust me, and just ridiculous things. And he actually got into college with it, but it was just something fun to read. It wasn't, same old analysis every day. Oh, okay. And